Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a biblical mystery that's had scholars and believers scratching their heads for centuries. Where was Sarah when Abraham took Isaac up the mountain for that fateful test of faith? Buckle up, because we're about to unravel some fascinating interpretations. But first, let's look at two modern scenarios that might help us relate to this ancient dilemma. Imagine Sarah, a busy mum of 3. Her husband, Tom, decides to take their oldest son on a weekend camping trip. Sarah's swamped with work and can't join them. As they're packing, Sarah notices Tom acting strange, packing unusual items. She brushes it off, thinking he's just over-preparing. It's only after they leave that Sarah realizes Tom left his phone behind. For 2 days, she's left in the dark about their whereabouts and activities. How would you feel in Sarah's shoes? Now picture Maria, whose husband Carlos is in the military. One day, Carlos receives classified orders. He can't tell Maria the details, but she knows it's dangerous. As he prepares to leave, Maria notices him writing letters to each family member. Her heart races, knowing these could be goodbye notes. Carlos leaves and Maria is left to wait, pray, and wonder. Can you imagine the emotional roller coaster? These modern scenarios give us a glimpse into the complexity of Sarah's possible situation. Now let's dive into the biblical account and its various interpretations. The story of Abraham's near sacrifice of Isaac is found in Genesis 22. Interestingly, Sarah isn't mentioned at all in this chapter. This silence has led to a multitude of interpretations over the centuries. Let's explore some of them. Interpretation 1. Sarah was unaware. Many traditional commentators believe Sarah was completely in the dark about God's command to Abraham. They suggest Abraham might have told Sarah he was taking Isaac on a spiritual journey or to offer a regular sacrifice. Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, better known as Rashi, connects Sarah's death in the following chapter to the binding of Isaac. He suggests that when Sarah heard about the near sacrifice after the fact, the shock was too much for her, leading to her death. This interpretation paints a poignant picture of a mother kept in the dark about a traumatic event involving her beloved son. Interpretation 2. Sarah knew and supported. On the flip side, some commentators argue that Sarah, as Abraham's partner in faith, must have known about God's command. They propose that her silence in the text indicates her unwavering faith and support for Abraham's obedience to God. This view presents Sarah as a woman of incredible strength and faith, willing to trust God even with the life of her long-awaited son. It's a powerful image of feminine faith that challenges us to examine our own trust in God's plans. Interpretation 3. Sarah was physically present. Here's where things get really interesting. Some midrashim, ancient Jewish commentaries, suggest that Sarah was actually present at Mount Moriah. One such midrash says that as Abraham and Isaac ascended the mountain, Sarah, overcome with motherly concern, followed them secretly. Imagine the drama. Sarah, hiding behind rocks and trees, watching in horror as her husband binds their son on the altar. It's like a scene from a suspense movie, isn't it? This interpretation adds a whole new layer of tension to the story. Interpretation 4. Sarah was spiritually present. Now, let's get a bit mystical. Some Kabbalistic interpretations suggest that while Sarah wasn't physically present, her spirit was there on the mountain. They argue that her prayers and spiritual energy were crucial in averting the sacrifice. This view presents a powerful image of a woman's spiritual influence. It reminds us that even when we're not physically present, our prayers and faith can have a profound impact on situations. Let's spice things up with some extra biblical sources. The Book of Jasher and Legends of the Jews, ancient Jewish texts not included in the biblical canon, adds an interesting twist. It suggests that Satan appeared to Sarah in Abraham's form, telling her about the planned sacrifice. This caused Sarah great distress and led her to send servants after Abraham and Isaac. While we should take non-canonical sources with a grain of salt, this account adds a dramatic element to the story. It portrays Sarah as actively trying to intervene, rather than passively waiting at home. So, what does all this mean for us today? Well, it reminds us that even in biblical times, family dynamics were complex. It challenges us to consider how we handle difficult situations in our own families. Are we like the first interpretation of Sarah, sometimes left in the dark about important matters? Or are we like the second interpretation, standing in faith even when things don't make sense? Perhaps we're like the third interpretation, wanting to be present and protect our loved ones. Or maybe we're like the fourth, influencing situations through our prayers and spiritual energy. The various interpretations of Sarah's role also invite us to reflect on how we view biblical women. Are we quick to assume they were passive observers, or can we see them as active participants in God's plan? Ladies, the story of Sarah during the binding of Isaac is a powerful reminder that faith often involves uncertainty. Whether Sarah knew about the test or not, whether she was physically present or praying from afar, her faith was surely tested. This story invites us to examine our own faith. How do we respond when God's plans don't make sense to us? How do we support our loved ones through their trials of faith? And how do we maintain our trust in God even when we're not privy to all the details? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which interpretation resonates most with you? How does Sarah's possible experience speak to your own faith journey? And hey, if you found this deep dive into biblical interpretation helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us reach more women with these thought-provoking biblical discussions. Oh, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep growing in your faith. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.